when I was in the Prime Minister's office, the team that I led, we were responsible for overseeing the comms rollout of the budget. Now, obviously, in close coordination with the finance minister's team, and a whole bunch of departments. So it's obviously not a one-team operation, but we spent weeks preconditioning the marketplace for some of our announcements, setting the stage for what was going to come. And I haven't seen a whole lot of that. And I'm curious if that means the conventional playbook for how you do comms around a budget is going to be different under this government. So then the other thing that's conventional, and it wasn't just us, it was also the Paul Martin, Jean Chrétien government before us. Once you make the once you roll out the budget, first of all, that it's going to be impossible for everyone to digest such a massive document in one day, let alone in a week. So you would spend weeks doing your budget rollout and fanning out your ministers, fanning out your caucus members out to different regions, and trying to give secondary, tertiary, and a fourth life to the budget. I'm really curious if we're going to see that with his team.
Maybe we'll talk about this because the UK budget's coming up. But if the Canadian government hasn't rolled the pitch, one might argue that the UK government has rolled it a bit too much because they just seem to be out.
I played the whole game in the UK. The match is over, right?
They speculated about every possible tax rise in Christendom. I think the only thing they haven't done is talked about a window tax, medieval window tax. But they've basically rolled the pitch for everything. So there's two competing things right here. One doesn't seem to have done a very good job of rolling anything, whereas the other one, the UK just seems to have put everything out there. Yeah, we might raise this tax, we might raise this one, we might raise that tax. So it's no wonder no one's buying or selling homes. It's no wonder no one's investing anything because people just have no idea. So anyway, maybe there's, again, as with everything, a balance is always the answer, right? So anyway,
I would say, just to Joseph's point as well, though, there is always that period of time where all the information comes out and you're just kind of waiting for that absolutely terrible little detail somewhere that you haven't noticed, or something always comes to prominence, doesn't it? And I remember when Liz Truss's budget came out and I was sitting there and I was listening to it and I was thinking, God, there's some really bold stuff in here, that we're going to get growth from this. And I was sitting there thinking, this is all right, actually. And then within 3 or 4 days, just everything was collapsing around us. So there is that period of just coming to terms with everything that's in the detail, isn't there?
It's like when we realised that she technically announced the biggest public expenditure increase ever, which was the energy bill support thing, with an unending commitment, effectively. And we're like, oh, maybe this isn't fiscally responsible after all. But I always remember we always say with budgets in the UK, it's always you wait a week to see how they unravel. I remember the Omni Shambles budget, one of George Osborne's, when we had it was called the Omni Shambles budgets, when it all sounded okay, and then it was, do you remember Pasty tax? Because we were going to put tax on hot takeaway food, which means your Greg's pasty or sausage roll was going to get taxed for that or whatever it was. And then it was the granny tax was in that one, where it was, I can't remember what we were doing to grannies, but there was something we were going to tax grannies more. Older people were going to be hit by something. And it also had in it the caravan tax, if you remember, which was the, getting rid of or putting VAT, I think, on mobile home caravan sales. So kind of we had this, it seemed okay. And then it just unraveled and became this Omni Shambles budget. And of course, the government had to come back to the dispatch box and undo many of the things it said. But again, I think it goes to that thing though in the UK, because there's so much more political news, in the sense of there's so many more political journalists who are just there to just unpick everything. And then they just come up with a good name like Pasty tax, and no one remembers anything else about those budgets. They could have given everybody a free flight to Australia. No one would have remembered that. Everyone remembers the Pasty tax. It's all about narrative, right? Anyway, sorry.